Miami Hurricanes have no time to waste when it comes to looking for a transfer portal quarterback. After missing out on Cam Ward, we'll talk about who's next and what happens next.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. Happy New Year. I'm Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're free wherever you get your podcasts, free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, on this episode, we're going to talk about what Miami does next in looking for a transfer portal quarterback. Who might the possibilities be? And could the next quarterback one already be in your QB room? We also have this crazy, and I hate to dwell in the past, and I hate to dwell in what ifs, but this insane what if story from Jeremiah Smith's recruitment was just revealed yesterday by 24/7 Sports, and it's just too wild not to talk about. So we're going to get to that today as well. But, you know, my friends, it is a Truth Teller Tuesday, and we have the man himself, Bruce Warner, with us. Now, Bruce, I already warned our listeners that you're going to be very fired up today after Miami not only missed out on Cam Ward yesterday, who chose the NFL draft, but Miami immediately pivoted to KJ Jefferson, who then immediately committed to UCF. Yesterday was nuts, man. How are you?
How do I look? Like crap.
Not good.
we didn't play yesterday, and I watched those two games, and I'm like, oh my God, we're nowhere near these two teams. We're just not. Those teams were prepared. They were physical. They were violent. Their offensive play calling and some of those things were just amazing. And that Michael Penix is unbelievable. God, is he good? And somebody posted we should have him. Yeah, it'd be nice to have him, but we don't have him. You know?
And by the way, Michael Penix was another one of those what ifs. And again, this might have ended up going the same way that Cam Ward went for us. But a couple months ago, Mike Ryan of the Lebitard Show, who's like a big donor, and he's pretty plugged in with this stuff. He said that, you remember last spring, Bruce, when Tyler Van Dyke was flirting with Alabama, or Bama was flirting with Tyler Van Dyke, he claims that Miami's backup option, if Tyler Van Dyke left, was that they were going to go take Mike Penix out of Washington. And Mike Ryan said that.
Oh, good for him. He's wrong. That kid wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, probably not.
Why would he leave Washington?
Good for him. He's wrong.
Yeah, right. He wasn't going anywhere. All right, next. Some of these stories you come up with, these people make it. I don't make any of this. I just, off the fly, I just come up with these answers. I'm just so fed up with what we've seen. You know, we had a great recruiting class. Other than that, What did we do this year? 7-6? Did we show up against Rutgers? No, not really. They showed up. We didn't show up. Now, I know we had guys missing.
Yeah.
But still, stupid, bonehead plays, bad decision-making. The play calling was abysmal. You know, everybody was saying all year, I'm Mr. Negative. Well, you better believe it, because look what happened. Was I wrong? And I'm not trying to be a jackass.
Hold on. I'll give you something that you were wrong about.
Yeah, what?
A few months ago, you were like, we're not going to get any defensive tackles. Where are the defensive tackles? We got a lot of great defensive tackles in recruiting.
We got them at the end.
Yeah, but it still counts. Top defensive line class in the country. We got them.
But they're young. We have 10 D linemen. How many are going to play a lot of minutes next year? They're kids.
Well, but they did get a couple of experienced guys to bridge the gap. CJ Clark from NC State is pretty good. Marley Cook from Middle Tennessee. Ohio State wanted that guy. So, you know, you figure he's probably pretty good if Ohio State wanted him pretty badly. You know, Miami's they're gonna miss Leonard Taylor next year for as inconsistent as he may have been. But
yes, he was.
Yeah, we got Ruben Bain, Bruce. But I want to talk more about quarterbacks here, because here's the thing. Some philosophy stuff is going to come into question here, okay? Because obviously with guys like Cam Ward and with Will Howard, who, I'm just going to throw this out there, he's not committed yet. So
yeah, I know a couple of these guys are, and I don't just throw your money at this kid and get this over with already. He hasn't signed with Ohio State. Why not? What's going on up there? They're losing. They're losing players too. They have some NIL issues. Just take the money from Ward and whatever else and go get this kid. He's experienced. He could make our team a lot better next year with his experience.
Yeah, he would absolutely, if he's still an option, because I know a lot of folks, the crystal balls have been flying in for him to Ohio State, and a lot of people believe it's basically a done deal with Ohio State for Will Howard, but it's not a done deal yet. So I'm with you. Hopefully Miami is working the phones. They're making calls to try to get Will Howard, because he would be absolutely perfect. As far as other experienced options, I keep seeing the name get brought up, Bruce, Taulia Tagovailoa. We don't know if he's eligible yet.
I think he's eligible, so we'll wait around for him, and it'll be March. I mean, come on already. Yeah. There's got to be oldest behind. How did they not know about KJ Jefferson going to UCF? How did they not know? There has to be all these back channel stuff. There has to be.
We don't know that they didn't know. They might have known. I mean, the reporter from ESPN, Pete Thamel, who talked about him, he didn't know apparently, but Mario may have known.
Yeah, well, I guess they trust their head coach more than ours. No, seriously, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. 2 years ago when Mario was coming, I was all excited. I've now seen what the Oregon people have been saying about him. He's not a great game day coach. Their preparation for games not so great. He can recruit. But unless he starts to become some of these coaches like we saw yesterday and in some of these bowl games, I don't know how much better we're going to get. And that's just the truth. And I made a comment last week or 2 weeks ago on Gary's site, Kane Sport, which I contribute. Sure. And I congratulated Mario for the recruiting class, and I got ripped a new rear end. Why? He can't do this, he can't do that. And all I said was, I went back and I said, look at what I wrote. Yeah. Congrats on the recruiting class. I didn't talk about anything else.
That was incredible recruiting class.
But those comments that those people were making, that they missed my point, which was very narrow, they're not wrong. I've said it for 25, 30 years. A lot of these fans that complain and bitch like I do sometimes, we're not wrong. Were we wrong about Golden not getting rid of D'Onofrio? We were right.
Right.
He was the downfall of that guy. And other coaches, Randy, he didn't have money, but still, this guy got all that money, and I don't see that much improvement in preparation from game to game. I don't see that much in-game adjustments. Do you?
No, I don't. But my thing is, and even I don't know if you saw the clip of what Kirby Smart said after the Orange Bowl when he basically mercy ruled Florida State in that game. He went off on this rant about how important recruiting is and how you stack this talent that makes coaches' jobs easy. And it's really, that's the most important part. So that's what I look at with Mario. Bruce, I'm not denying anything you say, right? Because the time management, the clock management, the actual game day decisions, he gets more of that stuff wrong than right. But I've always been a believer that if you can stack your deck with overwhelming talent, and for as much as the Oregon fans complain about Mario, the guy won them 2 Pac-12 championships, and he had them in match. So it's like, so you stack enough talent, and obviously I still need Mario to do some self-reflection and improve a lot of that stuff that you talked about. But my big thing is you stack a top 7 class followed by a top 4 recruiting class, and hopefully you're in that same neighborhood next year. This is going to get better. The question is, how much better is it going to get?
Well, and I'll give you the answer. We need a quarterback, and we don't have one yet, and we might not have one. Yeah. And I'm not saying we can get a guy like Penix, but you need somebody who can create something out of nothing, which is what made Jordan Travis so good. Because he can create something out of nothing. And a lot of these guys we're playing against create something out of nothing. Now, we don't have that. Judd Anderson at 6'7", come on. Is he going to be able to stop on a dime? Van Dyke was a robot back there. I like Emory Williams. He's a kid, but I don't know what he's got in terms of quickness and speed to create something out of nothing. What's going on in college football now, out in the NFL, you have to be able to do multiple things. It doesn't mean we need a dual threat quarterback, because Penix doesn't like to run, but he can. And he's very creative with his ball fakes. He's great back there. We don't have that. And when you put in an unimaginative offensive coordinator, whoa, we look the same every damn game. And it's getting to me now. You can see how angry I am. It's not necessary. Find a goddamn quarterback already.
Well, I want to talk about a couple of the younger quarterback options that Miami is reportedly interested in. A quarterback out of USC with 3 years of eligibility left. A quarterback out of UNLV with the USC quarterback 4 years of eligibility left. A quarterback out of UNLV with 3 years of eligibility left. Should these be legit options for Miami? We're going to continue the conversation. We got the truth teller, Bruce Warner, with us. Folks, we are only getting started. Keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. Oh, Siri, I'm doing a show right now. Leave me alone for a second, Siri. Jeez, my friends, I know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. FanDuel is the #1 sports book in America, guys. The NFL season, regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. That's the best way to find popular parlays and so much more. Guys, with the national title game coming up, Washington taking on Michigan, you can find so much action right there on FanDuel. I love those same-game parlays, and I love the player props. So do yourself a favor and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes, second episode of the year, your first listen of the day. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts, and we are available free on YouTube. Hey, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, we have our very good friend, the truth teller, with us, who's venting, and rightfully so, venting today, because it's been a tough week for Miami.
People
Bruce
still jump all over me, so whatever.
Listen, I don't know if you've noticed this. Miami fans have been jumping all over each other for the last several days, right? From the Pinstripe Bowl loss to Cam Ward declaring for the NFL draft. There are mutinies on these streets among
played. So here's a thought. I mentioned this off the air. It's not going to happen, but this is my wish. This is what I want. I fire Dorsey. I hire Dawson. I bring in Kenny Dorsey.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's ever going to get a job in the NFL. He didn't do that to get fired in the middle of the season, but
they've been so much better since he got fired.
I trust him and I know him, and I would hire him as the OC and the quarterback coach and let him work with Ja'Cory Brown, because he didn't play a down this year except for last week, and he didn't do too poorly. He does have a pretty damn good upside. If he doesn't leave today, then I guess he's staying unless he declares for the next time out.
Today's the
deadline. I would do that, and I think our offense will be better. And then I would try to go out and get the kid Malachi Nelson and let him sit for a year and let him work under Dorsey as well. Then we're okay. I'm not sold on Judd Anderson. I'm just not. I don't really want a 6'7" guy who's not that mobile. But that's just my opinion on the quarterback situation. Unless they can go out and get Will Howard.
Yeah.
Which would have to be pretty darn soon.
Would have to be, and you'd be playing from behind, because by all accounts, Ohio State maybe has this 90-95% over the finish line, so Miami would have to turn his recruitment on its head. But obviously we know this is a guy who Miami was very interested in last month and had mutual interest with Miami. And listen, I do want to debunk something, okay? Because a lot of people, Bruce, were, you know how this Miami rumor mill goes, right? I mean, a couple weeks ago, the Miami rumor mill said Cam Ward was a done deal. So I don't know why people can't understand. You can't trust everything you read on social media. But there was this social media rumor a couple weeks ago that Will Howard was ready to commit to Miami, and that Miami said, no, we're waiting on Cam Ward. So a lot of people are like, see, you had Will Howard, done deal in the back. Bruce, I've been told repeatedly that was not true. That Will Howard was not like literally here, I'm ready to commit. but you're waiting on camp. That didn't happen. So I want people to know that was not true. That has been debunked to me by multiple different sources. But you brought up Malachi Nelson from USC. All right, now very different. If you bring in a guy like that, very different than a Cam Ward or a Will Howard, because Malachi Nelson has done nothing in college. He's played 5 snaps of college football. He's attempted just 3 passes at USC playing behind Caleb Williams, but he is a former 5-star recruit, was in the same recruiting class as Emory Williams, and he was one of the top quarterbacks in that class. He's got 4 years of eligibility remaining because he didn't burn his red shirt. So this would be a situation where if you bring in a guy like Malachi Nelson, he's obviously not the surefire starter, Bruce. He would be competing with Emory and with Jakari Brown, assuming Jakari is still on the roster, and with Judd Anderson. And there's another similar option on the table there because our mutual friend, Gary Furman at Kane Sport, has mentioned that Miami is apparently interested in Jayden Maiava, who is the former UNLV quarterback who just hit the transfer portal. Now, he at least did have a full year of starts under his belt because he started at UNLV this past season. He's got 3 years of eligibility left. This past season with UNLV, completed 63.5% of his passes, 3,085 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He does run a little bit. He's a dual threat guy, 277 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. Now, I didn't watch a lot of UNLV this past year, Bruce. I'm not sure if you did either.
Right? Tell him what you told me.
Bluestein, yeah. So I asked Larry Bluestein is a UNLV alum. A lot of people don't know that. He watches all their games, and I asked Blue about that quarterback from UNLV. He's not overly impressed. He thought he probably overachieved in his 1 year as a starter. He said he's very similar to Jakari Brown to the point where he may be a little bit redundant with Jakari Brown. So I don't know. Again, if you were to bring in a guy like that, it would just be to kind of compete with the quarterbacks you have. I would actually prefer the Malachi Nelson idea, Bruce, because even though Malachi Nelson has not accomplished anything in college, he's a former 5-star recruit coming out of high school. So this could be a guy you have an opportunity to develop.
Yeah, you just don't want to stay in the same level. So if Emory Williams is going to be healthy, if you like him, you like him. If you don't, you don't. Look, he had handcuffs on him during the season. They didn't want to make mistakes. So he did beat Clemson, and they almost beat Florida State, except he got hurt. Now they put in Tyler, and he threw his usual interception, and the game was over. But, based on those 2 games, and he had handcuffs on him, he's not a bad option. Jakuri, if he stays, not a bad option, but I'm very concerned about the offensive coordinator, the play calling, and the lack of development. Look at Van Dyke. Did he develop in the last 3 years?
No.
Yeah, he had different coordinators every year, but still, they're having problems on the offensive side of the ball. Where's the blue chip wide receiver? We have all kids coming in. That's great, but they're still kids.
Yeah.
And so I thought all along, you get Cam Ward, we're going to win 10 games next year. You know what?
Yeah.
I think I'm wrong. I'm not so sure we're going to win 10 games, even if we had him, because we're still developing at other positions.
But here's the thing, though. I think if you had gotten Cam Ward, you would have been able to get 1 or 2 really good transfer receivers to come in because that's the type of guy people gravitate towards.
Right. That's possible. I mean, maybe even Smith, but I don't really know. But again, he's the Josiah Smith. Chalupa's saying I don't disagree, but they're still kids. They're kids. And the talent aside, look at what we mentioned and I mentioned, lack of player development. I think Mario is doing a pretty poor job of getting these guys ready to play, their preparation. They come out of the gate slow. Rutgers embarrassed them. They ran
hold on. I think
down their throats.
That is true, but what do you think? That's not the same thing as development, though, because like when you actually talk about development, you think about a guy, and I guess it was just his first year, so we'll see. But Reuben Bain, as a true freshman, looked pretty ready to play last year. So did Mark Fletcher. So did CC Mauinoa. So it's not like we're not seeing guys show up. And remember, Mario only really has 2 recruiting class, 1.5 recruiting classes in so far, Bruce. So I think the development part of it is yet to be determined. Also on the offensive line, you had Javion Cohen and Matt Lee, and no one's going to question Mario and Alex Mirabal on the O-line, but you had Javion Cohen and Matt Lee, both very highly touted, who came in, and they both had their best years this past year at Miami. So you could say these guys actually got better transferring here. Kiko Mauinoa, the linebacker, just had his best year after transferring into Miami. So there is some development there.
What about that big defensive tackle, Leonard Taylor? A lot of development with him, right? I don't want to be negative about all of this stuff.
He did just have his best year, but he did just have his best year here.
Right. He went from F to D- to C-. That's what he did as far as I'm concerned. He was not an All-American. He's got an upside. That's what
he still got better from where he was under Manny Diaz and just had his best year, and he's going to be probably a second-day draft pick. It's nothing to frown about.
Yeah, but that's based off as his upside, though, not necessarily what he's done on the field. He certainly didn't have 11 sacks, and like some of these guys we watch.
Sure.
I'm trying not to be negative, but we are disagreeing, which is great because people want to disagree. I really don't care. But, I'm looking at this, and I still don't see a blue chip lockdown corner, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The safeties have to be replaced. They looked horrible against Rutgers. So it says I'm being negative. That's true. I'm being negative today because there's a lot of things about what Mario has not done that worries me. The recruiting is just over here, but the rest of this stuff concerns me greatly. And it seems like he gets out-coached a lot. And the timeouts that people keep talking about every game, decision-making, in-game adjustments, things like that. Those are the things that concern me. Do I think we have more talent than we had 2 years ago? Hell yeah, we do. We do. But I want to see Stafford get on the field and play.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So Damari got better that season. His brother sat on the bench. The older one sat on the bench.
Yeah.
That's too slow. There are good things that are happening now, but we need the quarterback. We do. We have to have the quarterback. And we don't know who it is yet.
Well, I got a couple things I want to get to and run by you on the other side, Bruce. I want to give this story published by 24/7 Sports yesterday, the what if about Jeremiah Smith and Cam Ward. And I want to run by you, Bruce. If I were Mario Cristobal, these would be my New Year's resolutions for 2024. See if you agree, disagree, or you have anything to add to those. So, my friends, we are only getting started. Here's what you want to do. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. And we love the everydayers. If you guys want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, make sure to sign up for our exclusive SMS texting service, Locked On Canes Insiders. I include the link in the show description below. You guys get text messages directly from my phone to your phone and vice versa with breaking news, recruiting scoops, show updates and previews, one-on-one questions and answers with me. Try it free for 14 days by clicking the link in the show description below, Locked On Canes Insiders. And then if you like it, after 14 days, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. If you don't like it, no sweat. You tried it, you enjoyed it, hopefully, and life goes on. We got the truth teller with us. So, Bruce, when you saw the story from 24/7 as told by Jeremiah Smith, a lot of people who have read it have said, maybe he's just saying that because he wants Miami to feel like they were really in it. But this is some pretty crazy stuff here from this 24/7 article on Jeremiah Smith. So here's an excerpt from this story. As you guys remember, when he announced on National Signing Day he was committing to Ohio State, several hours later, reports came out, well, he's not actually sent his paperwork in yet. And Miami was still trying to recruit him late in that day. So with Smith's national letter of intent in limbo, they write, Miami didn't sit idly. They pounced. Hurricanes wide receiver coach Kevin Beard reached out. So did Miami head coach Mario Cristobal and the program's executive director, Dennis Smith. On top of all those pitches, Smith said that the Hurricanes also reached out to his NIL agent and re-upped their offer in an effort to sign him. But perhaps the most interesting phone call of the night came from a quarterback not yet associated with anybody, and that was Washington State transfer Cam Ward. Ward, they said, announced for the NFL draft on January 1st, but before then had been involved in a month-long transfer portal recruitment. Ward called Jeremiah Smith during the madness of that 9-hour period. They talked for 10 minutes. Smith remembers Ward telling him, if you choose to go to Miami, I'm going to go there. And obviously, Bruce, the rest is history. Neither of those things happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's a guy that was complaining about that I complained about the lack of talent, and then I want to see Stafford get on the field. Well, Stafford, I thought, was supposed to be a very good defensive back.
And he still could be.
When I say I don't think we have a lot of talent in the trenches.
Right.
He's great at that. We don't have a quarterback. We didn't get a blue chip wide receiver for the second year in a row. We've got a bunch of guys like Trader, and I'm happy with those guys, but they're kids. We didn't get any transfer portal wide receiver.
Trader is a blue chipper, though, Bruce. I mean, Trader is a blue chipper.
He's a kid. Let's see. I haven't seen him. Let's see what he does. He's a kid. I thought if we got Ward, maybe some other people would come along.
Yeah, sure.
My point is that we've got the 80 guys we have. We have certain areas that were stacked and certain areas that are lacking. Obviously, a blue chip wide receiver. Did you see the kid from Washington yesterday? Wow, is he good?
Yeah. Oh, he's
lot
incredible.
of these guys were making these catches with guys draped all over him. We don't have that. The only guy that does that is Restrepo. Some of these other guys, they're not even open. I like Horton, but he's been here 2 years. Is he dominant? No. Is he going to take over for Young? He might. I hope he does. He's got the size. But, we don't have anybody to throw him the ball. So I'm not stuck on the recruiting so much because we have players, but we need a quarterback. But I don't like a lot of the other things. I don't like the coaching decisions. I don't like the play calling. We don't seem to be jacked up for these games. We were jacked up for like maybe the Boston College game and definitely the Texas A&M game.
Yes.
The rest of them, it's like, why can't we do that again and again and again? And why can't we? And it just seems we're flat a lot. We should have killed Georgia Tech. How the hell they've stayed with us until that stupid take a knee is beyond me. And that's what when we're blowing these teams out, then we're back. Until then, it's all speculation and talk.
Well, a couple of my New Year's resolutions, if I'm Mario Cristobal, because you're touching on some of these things, hopefully he's not too stubborn to do this, but do whatever it takes to improve your in-game management, right? Do you need to have an assistant coach in your headset who's just dedicated to time and clock management in those final 2 minutes or final 5 minutes of a half? Do you need to attend a seminar this offseason on analytics and clock management, right? Because I think issues like that, cost Miami at least one, probably more than one win this season. And it's cost Cristobal multiple times during his career, going back to Oregon, game management and clock management. Because, Bruce, I was saying this to you off air, like, listen, every head coach has strengths and weaknesses. I don't think anybody's perfect, right? Some head coaches are not as good or as active in recruiting, and they have to rely on staff members for that. Mario's excellent at recruiting. If he's not as good as the game day stuff at the game days, you have to rely on staff members for that. You have to be willing to find the right mix of people who are going to help you with stuff like that on your headset and help you get more prepared during the week. Like, it's okay to not be perfect at every aspect of the head coaching game.
But he looks lost. And I don't know if he's going to listen to somebody up there with a headset on. I just don't, because these decisions are made on the fly quickly. Maybe somebody next to him. I don't even. Do you see him talking to Dawson during the game? Dawson's over here and Mario's over here. I just don't get what's going on over there. By the way, this aspiring consultant, whoever this bozo is, says I'm a crotchety old man that plays football when we wore leather helmets. I'll play you one-on-one in basketball, bozo. You play $1,000 a point and play 11. How much you want to bet? You go home broke. I'm old and crotchety. I can still kick your ass.
Did I tell you guys Bruce was fired up today? I told you.
I play against 30 and 40-year-olds, and I'll be 70 in February, but I could still beat this clown.
Dang. Oh, man. Well,
and
all right.
If you want to make it even higher, we'll play for $10,000 a point. How's that?
I think you're going home with a lot of somebody else's money, I think is what's happening there.
Anyway, so I'm fired up because it's just so frustrating. And after last night's games, you look at it and go, we're nowhere near these guys. That's the scary part. We're nowhere near it. And yet we had two great recruiting classes in a row. And we're all you guys on the board, and you and me and everybody else, they got played by Ward and his father. You have to say at some point in time, this is your cutoff date. We're moving on. And they didn't do it. That's what most of us would do. If you were going to hire somebody and they said, I'll let you know in a month, you're going to sit there and not hire the next most qualified person?
Do you know what I think? Do you know what I think part of the problem was with how they let Ward play them is if they had given him like an ultimatum date earlier on, I think the fear was if we cut him off, he goes to Florida State. And I think that was their worst nightmare.
Okay.
I think that's part of the reason why it dragged on so long.
And throw to who? Those guys are all the tight end left and the two dominant wide receivers left. Who's he going to throw to? So they have DJ now. That's their quarterback.
Yep, DJ Uyunglele. That's why I say we bring in Tua's kid brother. We have the Hawaiian versus Hawaiian, Miami versus Florida State, and let's go. Let it rip.
I've never seen the brother play. Have you?
He's not bad. He throws a few too many interceptions, but he's pretty good. He's never going to be Tua, but he's Tua Jr. He's not bad. We could do worse.
Nothing else. You should find out whether or not they're really going after Will Howard today or not.
Yeah,
and
I will.
Like you just said, McCloud signed, Jefferson signed with UCF within 20 minutes.
Like 20 minutes after Ward.
Yeah, by the time we got off the air, Will Howard will sign with Ohio State, and we'll be sucking wind again.
Man.
He was clearly the number 2 option. Not just for us, for other teams too. USC.
Yeah. The number 2 option, period, is what.
Period, right. So why would we not say to the Ward, here's your deadline, if not, and they'll tell Howard, we're picking you, like within a day or two, this is it. We're not letting it drag out. Why would he come here? His family probably thinks we slighted him.
Well, I'm going to have to close this out before me or Bruce pop a blood vessel. I always have a good time with you, truth teller.
And I didn't even take my medicine yet this morning.
Oh man, I love everybody here. I love everybody. Thank you so much for partaking in the live chat. Thank you so much for hitting the like button and hitting subscribe on Locked On Canes YouTube. We'll probably Bruce and I may do something else later on today because I know he and I both have a lot more to say. So you want to keep it locked, my friends. The Locked On Podcast Network is awesome. We will talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of this Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.